Hello everyone, this is Karuni Richard, Support Executive at Institute of Inspiring Innovation. Welcome to today's episode of Hello Zo, a virtual talk show where we showcase extraordinary people and their little extras. Today's talk show is based on the theme Acquiring Knowledge is Ordinary, Applying Knowledge Multiple Times in Multiple Ways is Extraordinary, from the book A Little Extra. Here we have our Zo, Dr. C.S. Hiremath, Professor and Head of Department of Cardiothoracic and Vascular Surgery at Sri Sathya Institute of Higher Medical Sciences. Dr. Hiremath completed his MCh CTVS from Sri Jayadeva Institute of Cardiology in 2006, and after a brief stint in Bombay, joined the hospital at Parthi in 2008 and has been serving for the last 15 years. Presently, he serves as Head of Department of Cardiothoracic and Vascular Surgery. He also serves as Secretary of Indian Association of Cardiovascular Thoracic Surgeons, IACS, and Executive Committee member of Society for Heart Failure and Transplantation. He has made numerous presentations in several national conferences and has himself organized several of them, the most popular of them being the SCORE. He also has several journal articles to his credit in both national and international peer-reviewed journals. Now, let me invite Naveen Lakkur, Chief Innovation Coach at Institute of Inspiring Innovation and the author of the book A Little Extra, to the spotlight to be the host.
Thank you, Karunya, so much for this warm welcome. And today's theme being acquiring knowledge is ordinary. Applying knowledge multiple times in multiple ways is extraordinary. In fact, the introduction that you gave of Dr. Hiremath itself, actually a lot of knowledge, and he's acquired a lot of knowledge, which actually every doctor needs to. And in the phase of their studies, education, a lot of knowledge, a lot of studies, and every time they attend to a patient, it is an opportunity for applying that knowledge. And, multiple patients means multiple occasions of applying that knowledge in multiple times and in multiple ways. So let me ask Dr. Hiremath, how many times you would have had the opportunity to apply the knowledge? That means how many patients you would have seen?
Oh, it would have crossed more than 50,000 plus. I don't remember the number, or wouldn't lack also, because last almost 30 years I've been practicing my medicine. So
wow,
difficult for me to keep the count on the numbers.
Okay, you've lost count. That's a fantastic thing, and it's a good thing that you've lost count on how many patients you've treated, seen, and interacted with. So what is the specialty or a specialization? Because in medicine, everybody talks about specialization. So which is that specialization that you are in?
Yeah, well, I am, if you ask me specialization, it is general surgery first, and then super specialty, what we call it as. It's cardiothoracic and vascular surgery, what I mean as.
Oh, wow. So that means as a surgeon, you are authorized or legally authorized to touch the hearts, literally, right? So you are into the business of touching hearts. So what a wonderful space or the profession to be in, right? So envious one, and everybody wants to touch the heart, and you do. So let me ask you this question. What got you to choose this super specialty of being in the cardiovascular, touching the heart and treating the hearts and treating people?
Yeah, it's a long story itself, but to cut it short, I would put it as after finishing my general surgery, I was very much keen to help the rural population, wherein I served as a chief medical officer at a rural place. In fact, it was more like a village. To get the nearest small, even the grocery was around 6 kilometers away, and the village surrounding only fields. We happened to do around more than 200 plus surgeries, 250 plus surgeries set up in that country. It was a Christian Missionary Hospital. Subsequently, we realized that a lot of challenges are there at rural setup, wherein Even to get 1 unit of blood was a challenge. We used to wait for a bottle of blood from almost 60 kilometers away. And that was a challenge. And I decided to make my studies further and look into further progress, how best I can help. Because what knowledge I had studied, I could not apply it completely because of the lack of facilities at that place. Even though none of the surgeries were done, almost the hospital was almost 10 years plus. No surgeries were done. And applying my knowledge, as you told multiple times, I made a team of about 15 plus doctors who were visiting on weekly basis. And we happened to do good number of surgeries. But in the long run, I did think of doing my super specialty. Well, definitely I was interested in urology. It was my mother who insisted me to take up cardiac surgery. And yes, she has been an inspiration throughout my life, even today. And right from my childhood to join medicine and to take general surgery and also to cardiac surgery. Well, I joined cardiac surgery mainly because.
Oh, so you mean to say, while you took up medicine and it was your mother as an inspiration,
Yes.
that, she actually inspired you to take, and you wanted to do a different specialty altogether. And, any reason that it was the heart as a specialty? And mother and heart, I'm very interested to understand that connection and what got you to pick heart then.
Well, my mother, sir, personally to speak, she tells me what happens tomorrow. That's what she has, that vision. Maybe God's grace, with her divine power, she's very comes from a very holy background and a lot of spirituality in her, and she can foresee what happens. In fact, with her, this one only I joined cardiac surgery. In fact, those days we did not have mobile phones, and it was way back in 1999. I wrote my exams, I joined cardiac surgery, and it was tough. The field was tough. In fact, if you ask me, as a general surgeon, I always refused to read an ECG or an echo. Somehow I thought, oh, this is not the surgeon's cup of tea. So I always refused, and finally I ended up coming into this field wherein you have to know ECG, you have to know echocardiography. And initially, the days as an observer, I joined in Jayadeva Institute. Earlier, the hospital was at Victoria Hospital in the KR Market area. Subsequently, it was in the process of transition to the new institute at Jayanagar 4th block. And entire the building setup and all, we used to just go around with one of my teachers and plan. And once surgery started, multiple tubings, heart getting stopped. There were multiple tubings, pipelines. It was quite tough to understand. And at the end of the day, I don't know, cardiac surgery, I used to see many deaths. And somehow down the line, I felt we are operating and patients are dying. Like in the sense, not all is to die, but of course, the death rate is more compared to any other operating specialty. So I don't know. So I in fact, I went to the STD booth and I told, I don't want this field. I am going to quit. But she insisted that no, that only will be good for you. You have to continue that. And somehow my thought process are like sometimes even if you don't like it, just hang around. Sometimes the secret of success is just hang around. Whether you like it or no is immaterial. Just hang around. And I have been using this theme of just hanging around whichever place. When mother tells it is good, there may be something good. And today, after almost 20 years plus, 25 years plus, I never regret. In fact, I salute her for thank her every time, every moment for me being a cardiac surgeon. It makes a difference.
That's a very, very inspiring story in terms of how your mother, her vision, and also for pushing her, that vision that she had and where you got into it, and that hanging around, whether you liked it or not, but you continue to acquire a lot of knowledge. And in this process, what did you find, which otherwise you were maybe shocked or you were inspired? And is there any learnings that you've had, some knowledge that you had when you got into this specialty?
Yes, this specialty, only people who are quite courageous and who are really want to make a difference for in fact a human body, I can tell, or human beings, it makes a huge impact on the society, on the family per se. And to become an independent cardiac surgeon is a challenge by itself. 30% of the cardiac surgeons across the globe are assistants. They even though they take a step towards cardiac surgery, once you operating independently is a big challenge by itself. Because even if it's a success, you shoulder responsibilities, and even if it's a failure, you shoulder responsibilities. And when it is a failure, shouldering responsibility is very painful. It's like invariably it is a breadwinner of the family, or a child who is loved by the entire family meets his death. That is really painful to address, and it's not in our hands. And of course, even after doing a proper job, also sometimes God takes a different turn on what is good for that particular soul. So that is one challenge I always have difficulty to face. But this hanging around, I just did not hang around. I went on venturing what is there, went on reading books. But even though you do not like, just because there is some divine, something good is going to happen, that always that faith I had. Because in fact, I did my cardiac surgery at the age of 36. Within 36, everybody would have finished their courses. Because after MBBS, I practiced in a rural area for 2 years. Then subsequently did my general surgery. Going on throughout general merit throughout my career was a challenge by itself. Then after that, again, after finishing general surgery, rural, I had a very desire of serving the rural people, because my father was a doctor who used to walk around in the jungles to treat patients. He used to go on a cycle to treat patients at hilly places, irrespective of whether they pay you or no. The drive of service has come from my parents. So that's where I went on insisting, and that hanging around almost for 2 years plus, really,
Wow.
and not a single day is a waste, I can tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a learning, acquiring knowledge is not just by reading books and so on, right?
Yes.
Even by observation, it is listening, and so many avenues are there for acquiring knowledge. And you have probably acquired a lot of knowledge through the vision and the spiritual connection of your mother to the universe, and at the same time your father, that is also a little extra, where he was already a doctor and going and serving the people in the rural and tribal. So that's a phenomenal wealth of knowledge, and the access to that is just amazing. So, and you've been gifted that way from both parents. You are able to acquire knowledge, and in fact parents are the first teachers, and you had that opportunity to learn from them for a long period, which is amazing. So Dr. Hiremath, I think the heart surgery is not a small thing and not a simple thing, right? And in fact this reminds me of a story what I'd heard some time ago, that there's this little child who has to go through the heart surgery. And there's a very senior, very seasoned doctor who is supposed to operate. And he is aware that this is a very complex surgery, and the chances of survival of the patient itself is very, very bleak. And but he is all geared up. He wants to do, and he's been used to doing so many surgeries. So he goes, and this little child is still awake, and the medication is not started for the surgery. And this little child, this girl child, asks the doctor, and she says, "Doctor, are you the person who's going to be operating on my heart?" And he says, "Yes." And can I make one request for you? And the doctor says, "What?" And the child says, "Doctor, they say, like my mother was saying, God resides in the heart. And I've never got a chance to see the God. But now you're going to be operating, and you're going to be going to my heart. And if you see God there, just convey my wishes behalf of me." And this doctor almost had tears, because he's been a very seasoned doctor, but this is the first time that he realized how much of the spiritual connect and the heart connection of this child with the God. That was something which inspired me. And in fact, the doctor, after doing the surgery, said, for the first time, I completely realized it's not me who's doing the surgery. It is God who is doing the surgery. And the faith of this child, that the God resides in the heart. And and the doctor is going to get to see the God in her, right, in on her heart, made him operate in such a wonderful way. And he says this is probably one of the best surgeries that he's ever experienced, because he could also realize that he was not doing the surgery, and he was just an access or an instrument. To me, it was a touching story and it is a story of faith, and it is also a story of dedication by the doctor, and and there are many challenges. What are these top challenges, top three challenges that in the cardiovascular space the doctors or the field itself has?
Well, I would put forth in different phases. One is getting a degree itself is a big challenge, because it's the toughest field in the entire human body. If you ask me, you need to be familiar with all the specialties to become a good cardiac surgeon. And that's why the earlier training was first be a general surgeon, then go into super specialty of cardiac surgery. Because once we stop the heart and put on a bypass machine, and which is not physiological, it is near physiological that we put it as. And when it is near physiological, where the blood goes through different plastic tubings, there will be cell lysis. So each and every organ in the body has a minimal damage when it is being moved from a vessel which is lined by endothelium, when it is goes into an artificial circulation system. But we don't have any other options. The entire world cardiac surgery for the last 70 years, which has come into picture, is like that. Before 70 years, there was no cardiac surgery on this earth. So there were a lot of learning curve was going on, and the second challenge is the learning curve itself is very steep, because the margin of safety, what we call it as in cardiac surgery, is very minimal. You do a smallest mistake and you end up losing the patient. That's where it is looking at. So in that process, your seniors take adequate time to train, and the training across the country also is not uniform. That's another challenge what I have been noticing in the last 25 years plus. So these are challenges wherein, and once you get trained, initially few hundred cases have to be operated under a supervisor for the safety of the patient and for your own safety, of course. So these are things which we need to look into. And not only that, the availability of certain things, like whether it is a valve, mechanical valves, or bioprosthetic valves, or if the heart is failing, then availability of heart transplants, which has picked up in the last decade in India, and also artificial hearts, depends on the availability. And definitely cost does matter when we go into all these additional devices which are not easily available in India, and if even available, they are not easily affordable.
Wow. I thought the theme today was acquiring knowledge is ordinary. Applying knowledge multiple times in multiple ways is extraordinary. And I have to use a disclaimer here. Ordinary does not mean bad. It is only that it is common and maybe natural. But listening to you, what takes to become a heart surgeon, acquiring knowledge itself is super extraordinary. Then the little extras are, on treating patients and saving lives and touching the hearts itself is like super, super extraordinary. And hats off to you. So my next question to you would be, what are the challenges in terms of, in the heart? How big is the problem in the market? Is this like common? Because we keep hearing so many people, even the youngsters, have started to die out of heart attacks and heart problems. How serious is the heart problem?
Yeah, in fact, it's a very good question, sir. Today in the world, India will be the global leaders for its heart diseases. That's where we are standing today. 2030, every fourth Indian will be a cardiac patient.
Oh,
And
man.
in
Yes.
yes,
India will be the largest one. Is this a matter of pride, or it is a matter of concern, right? So this is
it's a matter of great concern, sir. If we don't address this,
yes.
then definitely we have our own challenges. Mainly, it's because of over a period of time, the lifestyle changes which has been done, especially it starts from the childhood level itself. We, as in our childhood, we never had mobiles. That's the first thing which has really caused distractions. We used to go more of outdoor games, and that has really kept you quite fit. and the dietary habits, and today's the diet habits starting from childhood itself is totally different. And I've seen at the age of 20 years, people's lipid profiles, liver function tests going abnormally high just because of their dietary factors. And playing in sunlight, deficiency of sunlight also is another major factor where vitamin deficiency is reported quite common. So, and the amount of stress they undergo also is additional factors which are increasing the risk of heart diseases in the younger age population. In fact, the lifespan of an average Indian today, it is around 60 to 65 years, average lifespan. And every 1,000 children born in India, we have around 12 to 14 children with congenital heart diseases. That is the burden today. So on average, every year, we have around 2.5 to 2.75 lakh children born with congenital heart disease. And among these, only 20% get treated. Remaining 80%, they die because either they can't afford or the availability of the resources at their places. Because cardiac surgery, as of now in India, has quite picked up in most of the urban centers. So slowly things are picking up as we, that's another aim or my plans wherein we can always look into training them, and people are going into 2-tier and 3-tier cities. They require additional training where I have what knowledge acquired. I have certain plans wherein we can focus on their training also so that they become safe surgeons. That's very important.
Wow, this is really one side very concerning, and the data and the numbers that you are referring to of people, and especially the children who are already get born with heart problems. So, and some of it is preventable, is what you're saying, and some of it is because of the lifestyle is the issue. And what could be the little extras that could help manage this better? Is there any areas that you think some work has to happen?
Yeah, the basic starts from the mother and child healthcare itself, wherein the nutrition of mother and the baby's weight, all these things have to be looked into by most of the centers, and whether it's government sector, private sectors, or charitable institutes. So these things have to be looked into. The diet factor and the growth of child matters a lot in these congenital heart diseases. And the regular scanning, which is required for the mother at regular intervals, definitely picks up heart diseases. And if it is not compatible with life, we can always advise have a talk with the parents and take a call on termination of pregnancy. That can be done. But sometimes all these go unnoticed, and in spite of having regular scans also, we do end up missing cardiac diseases, and child is born with a heart disease. And even if it is born, we need to identify it at an early age, because slowly neonatal heart surgery is picking up, pediatric cardiac surgery is picking up quite well, which can be corrected. Only challenges, certain heart diseases are there where it requires redo surgeries. At 10 years, it requires another 20 years, 30 years, like that, it requires surgeries. And of course, certain heart diseases are there which does not get corrected so easily. They require a heart transplant. Heart transplant is a challenge by itself. Half of the 80%, 80 to 90% of the people die. We are just waiting for a heart to get transplanted. That's a challenge across the globe.
So across the globe, if that is a challenge, when there is a challenge is when there is an opportunity for innovation, right? So in ER terms, what are the kind of innovations which are happening and which can make a difference? Is there any?
Yeah, definitely. As me shouldering responsibilities with head at the Sathya Institute, I do focus on training part quite well, wherein a student who gets registered at our institute, so by the end of 6 years, he's quite independent to perform the basic surgeries by himself. That process takes around 6 years, and after that, if he's genuinely interested, they continue in our own institute. And that uniformity, which I would like to make a change across the country, which I'm looking at. And that's where I have certain plans to implement on this.
Okay. So one is education, right? So that is one way. And in when we talk about innovation in healthcare, so I used to be conducting many training programs in the healthcare for innovation and enabling innovation. So I've written a paper where typically when we talk about innovation and in healthcare, we refer to pharmaceutical and medical devices easily comes to our mind and it's in the forefront. There could be innovation in other domains. So I've written this about 6 major domains of innovation in healthcare. One is the patient care. The other is preventive healthcare, a big space. And
Yes.
you are also referring to that, where many cases can be prevented here, right? And the policy, innovation in the policies, just the way you were talking about, even in the education policy and so on. So then there is another major one, which is process, in the space of process where innovation could be possible, right? So the 6 being medical devices, pharmaceutical, then process, policy, preventive healthcare, and patient care. These are the 6 different areas or the domains of innovation possible in healthcare. And in the cardiovascular, how do you think there is a scope or a space, or is there a platform through which these innovations could be enabled in a conscious way and bring this to the forefront? Is there any platform like this?
Yes, there are 2 platforms which I had planned, and in fact, about 9 years back, I looked into the logistics, and many students across the country approached me as I am the secretary of the Indian Association of Cardiothoracic Vascular Surgeons. They did approach, and they told me what are the challenges they are facing across the country of uniformity of training. They did notice the way of training we take and other institutes. So that's the time where I started off in the association called as an ISTS core program. It's a rapid examination oriented program conducted every year, once in a year at our institute in collaboration with the Indian Association of Cardiothoracic Vascular Surgeons. And 2 days, it's a rapid exam oriented program wherein typical it's like a mock examination what we conduct. And invariably, the candidate who attends this program, the pass percentage is more than, I would put it as 99% plus. And not only that, we create notes called for the people, for the exam going students. In fact, we name it as Sathya notes because it's the initiative, it was initiated here. So around 9 versions today, the 9th version is on flow, and we do distribute everything free of cost for the students. So with that uniformity in the theory training and clinical examination is taken care. Now challenge comes when practical exams. So I can't get everybody across to one single institute and train. It's a challenge by itself. They have been registered across the country. There are various training centers recognized by the government of India, and they have been getting trained. And the training, why, if you can ask me why the training is different institutes. Well, each institute has its own challenges and its own limitations, wherein we look into that. For this, I am looking out for a uniformity of training platform called as Center of Excellence, which I'm looking at, which is happened to take place in Bangalore. And in that place, skill-based training program. So wherein modules will be installed, and subsequently with that, we have tie-ups with our institute or Rama Institute or other cardiac institutes in Bangalore because of easy connectivity from the airport. Land we are looking at, we have identified it close to the airport area. And once the central affairs picks up, that's where this hands-on training and education platform will come into picture.
Oh, wow. So what I understand is that one platform itself is being created is IACS, which is Indian Association for Cardiothoracic Surgeons, right? Where
Yes.
you're bringing all the knowledge and the experts, the practitioners, the surgeons are all coming together and supporting and taking many initiatives. And one of the initiative that you said is being taken is to create another platform, which is Center of Excellence. Pretty interesting. And the Center of Excellence itself, what would be the kind of activities that you foresee that should be happening in the Center of Excellence?
Yeah. Simple, I would focus on skill-based training, and that skill-based training with moral values in it. Because today's education platform, in fact, a day was there where doctors, surgeons were worshipped as God. Today, that culture has changed. It's not because of the people. In fact, if you ask me, it is because of our own faults at certain places. That word of compassion is missing. The word of love is missing in our profession. That's where I look it at. So that can happen provided when the child has been training or undergoing training, the candidate during his training period, we need to add that compassion along with the regular mastery over the field. So here, for example, if you want to train a candidate on a beating heart surgery, beating heart bypass surgery, where Indians are the pioneers in the world for beating heart surgeries. So that training does happen. It takes its own time. So for that, if we start training on the human heart, then chances of errors are more and chances of deaths will be higher side. That's the reason where most of the seniors fail to train the youngsters in that aspect, especially in the private setups. So we have different modules now. Japan has come out with a new module of beating heart itself. Wherein on that beating heart per se, we can teach them the suturing techniques. That's a module by itself. Similarly, whether it is wire skills is another program. As we should keep ourselves advanced or in par with the latest developing technology, wherein keyhole surgeries have come up, robotic surgeries have come up. So all these things, we can't train them on a live surgery, which is going on, becomes difficult because the master who has been doing it has undergone quite around 20-30 years experience. And he ends up training somebody, and he does face a challenge, and that's where I have noticed it. And finally, this center of excellence has all these modules where there will be certified courses for that, and across the country they come down. In fact, people from abroad also have been approaching for this kind of excellence of training. That's where I'm looking at. This one. Second part is the database. Now, if I ask you now, in fact, Naveen Lakkur, suppose if he is 45 years old, and today, if I ask him what is the incidence of heart attacks in the 45 years old in India, the answer is 0. We don't have a proper database. Of course, some numbers may pop up, but that's not the actual database. Till date, we are been reading textbooks written by the Americans, written by the United Kingdom, wherein they have a solid database. And that database is which I happen to take an initiative as a secretary at Sathya Institute. We started off, and subsequently, why not for the entire country was the thought. And 12 nodal centers across the country, different institutes under various leaders of our association, we started the database. In fact, I am the program director for the database. We happen to have our own templates. The templates of USA, UK are quite large. In fact, to enter one case database, the time taken is around almost more than half an hour to 1 hour or so, because it goes around 50 to 70 pages, where no Indian will have patience, no doctor will have patience of Indians entering the data. So after all, undergoing through various about more than 7 countries templates, I happen to make a template separately for India for CTVS surgeries. And within 4 to 6 minutes, sitting on the in your laptop or in your mobile or in the system, data can be entered. And this was inaugurated by then the Health Minister, Government of India, Dr. Harshvardhan, in the year 2020. And last almost 3 years now, we almost collected more than 18,000 plus data. And now additional centers are being added on. And the main aim is that in the long run, each institute, if you ask me, should be entering data, or else in fact, I don't know. That's how the Americans and UK are so strict about the data entry. Their hospital license stands cancelled there. That's where we need to look at to make a difference.
Okay. Yeah. So the center of excellence that you're looking at to be established is going to take such initiatives, bring some policy changes, and implement some of the best practices. And also the little extra that you're talking about is taking new initiatives, the education itself. And, when we are talking about it, tell me how many doctors in heart specialty is required to cater to the requirements which is going to come up in the future? And are we geared up? What is the gap?
Oh, the gap is quite huge. With the population of more than 1.5 billion plus, we have hardly around 3,000 plus cardiac surgeons in the country. And in that, you can count your fingers on around 400 to 500 very competent and very good cardiac surgeons. In fact, less than 500 I would put that. Who is known, who is who in the country. So definitely there's a challenge. We do have youngsters who are growing up, building up slowly in 2 tier, 3 tier stages. They are improving. I do not say that they do not. So they do require. And for this initiative also, I have taken up another step called as mentorship at your doorstep. Now, you suppose Naveen Lakkur is practicing in 2 tier cities, and there is another surgeon in Delhi who would love to come and train him, and he wants to learn a particular surgery. That's where the association, I would take initiative to see that, to felicitate the shifting of that particular surgery from Delhi to this rural area, and work out the logistics and help him that to grow up in that particular surgery. That's another initiative what I've taken. Not only this, even I would like to tell a few words about the homograft banking, because homograft is that is from the graft from the same species, human to human. We have hardly around 6 to 7 homograft banks across the country. And it's a challenge by itself, especially in a child who requires valve repair or a homograft, or in an adult who requires a homograft. Definitely is a big challenge to get, because organ donation is not compulsory in India, and very few people are educated about it. And this Center of Excellence is a platform to educate people on organ donation. And organs can be collected. It's a process by itself, and this process also is a training for the youngsters, how to explant the heart and how to process a homograft bank, how to preserve it, and how can it be given. The aim is through the Center of Excellence, my aim is mainly to provide in fact, to come up with the first free homograft bank in the world. Anybody ask for a homograft, I should be in a position to provide them a free homograft.
Wow, that's extraordinary. And I wish your wish comes true, so that people would benefit. And this is a true application of that knowledge in multiple ways, multiple times. And do you think it is all feasible just by one person and so on? So who are the people who are supporting you in this initiative to establish Center of Excellence? And can you brief a little about such people who are supporting already?
Oh, the entire association is with me for the work, philanthropic work, what we have been doing. And I would like to mention a few of the presidents and team members. We have an executive committee body of the Indian Association of Cardiothoracic Vascular Surgeons, around 14 members. And in that, I would like to make some special comments. Who's under presidency, Dr. V.V. Bashi, who is the director of SIMS Hospital at Chennai. He is a pioneer in aortic surgeries in Asia. And during his presidency only, I took the initiative, and identifying the land process started for the Center of Excellence. But I like to mention Dr. Krishna Iyer, who is the director of Fortis Institute, New Delhi, and Dr. Zile Singh Merwal, director of Fortis Institute in adult and pediatric cardiac surgeries, who have really envisioned along with me to take it forward for the training of the residents, and also to uplift the children who are in fact can't afford these homografts or surgeries, wherein we look at and try to come up. In fact, I would like to mention Dr. O.P. Yadav, who is the CEO of National Heart Institute, New Delhi. There are Dr. Rashmi is there, and Dr. Ravi Shankar Shetty, who is the chief transplant surgeon at Ramai Institute. So there are a few members who definitely would love to stand, and they are all along with me in this project.
Wow, that's very heartening to hear about such committed members being there and wanting to be part of this grand vision, right? To create a Center of Excellence. And you need a lot of youth also to come and associate. And how frequently that you get to hear that it is hard while they've acquired so much of knowledge, but to do the masters or to do higher studies in the field, specialties such as heart. Is this the favorite topic or the specialty amongst the youth, or is it where does it stand?
Well, the youngsters, when they come out, they do find it difficult when they leave the institute where they've been trained, and then they go outside, and that's a challenge where they start facing. That's where they realize. And that's where, to get uniformity of training, we do conduct wet labs, workshops in every conferences. We have around one conference in a year, and another 3 of them in the entire year, divided various places, like whether it's thoracic surgery, techno-college, advanced cardiac surgeries, and another midterm CME. In all these CMEs, continuing medical education programs, we keep it entirely free for the students. Their travel, accommodation, stay, everything is taken care. And we train them hands-on training. We train them in bovine hearts, in pig's hearts. We do train them how to replace a valve, how to do a suturing, and all these things are done. But challenges are there, wherein for them, they have their own challenges to travel across different places, because it is kept at 2-tier and 3-tier cities mainly for these. So everybody can't attend all the CMEs either because of their prior commitments at their own institute or any other issues. So to have this uniformity and have more regular training per se only, the Center of Excellence is thought of and looked into.
Oh, wow. So it's going to enhance. Now, currently, among all the options that when somebody wants to do specialty, higher studies, and amongst many options, like you yourself had a different desire altogether in urology or so on, but then you chose cardiology. So amongst today's trend, which are the top ones that the students would choose to specialize? And where does the cardiovascular specialty stands?
Well, this is a very sorry figure in the country as of now because most of the seats in NEET examinations, cardiac surgery are going vacant. In fact, the recent trend what I saw was 80% of the seats have gone vacant in NEET examinations. And the reason behind it, wherein I did quite a lot of study on this, and it's we seniors somewhere down the line have failed to train the youngsters. That's where it is at. And also the learning curve. The current generation wants things very fast to be done. They would like to settle down in their families quite fast, and the commitment what we see in our generation, I do feel the commitment is lacking. Unless the candidate is genuinely interested, the drive has to be there. He has to be a cardiac surgeon. Those kind of candidates we do get there. And for this also to educate them, because sky is the limit to grow in cardiac surgery. Either it is adult cardiac surgery, or pediatric cardiac surgery, or minimal access cardiac surgery, or robotic cardiac surgery, vascular surgery, thoracic surgery. It's amazing. The growth is just amazing. Unfortunately, the students are not aware. And this Center of Excellence takes its own time wherein we can educate the medical students, interns, and tell them about the progress in this field and what are the pros and cons, and how training has been implemented, how uniformity has set in. And definitely this can be looked into. In fact, I would like to put forth, recently happened to meet one of my colleagues from USA. Even USA had paid, this was a global phenomenon, global problem. Even their seats were going vacant and they did not have good cardiac surgeons. All these challenges were there. And they looked into and they found that it is because of this, and they set their standards and they looked into whether it is the monetary aspect or the taking care of their families or even including the training part. They re-modified their curriculum. And today in USA, no cardiac seats are going vacant. That's where I would like to put forth in India also, and it will come into picture soon.
Oh, so there is a serious issue of number of heart cases increasing on one side,
Yeah,
and the youth embracing cardiovascular specialty is reduced,
very.
and there is serious concern. The need is much larger. So one way of attending to these many initiatives to be taken, and the adoption of technology is going to play a big role. So because I also came across how telemedicine has helped, like ISRO
Yes.
was involved in setting up that wonderful bridge between, even when internet was not as matured as what it is today, with the 6G coming up next and all of this, I don't know where the technology could lead to. A lot of wonderful things are possible, innovations are going to be happening. But much before, when this technology was so advanced, ISRO was instrumental in creating that bridge where patients in Africa region were treated by the doctors in India. So that was fantastic, right? And how technology plays a major role, and telemedicine is growing, and especially after COVID, I think it is catalyzed. So how do you think technology would have to be embraced more and in the cardiovascular field, and how do you think Center of Excellence could be the catalyst for adoption of technology?
Yes, Center of Excellence, so we can have different modules. For example, I'll tell you, we can have a wires-based training program, wire skills, what we call it as, wherein you want to put now the latest technology, wherein instead of open heart surgeries, we do replace the valves through the groin passing different catheters to make it very simplified. And for that, for you to get trained, how technology can be used, we have got simulators, either simulators based in the computers, simulators based on mannequins. So these are the where we try to simulate and do the procedure there first, have a clear concept, which are the cases which can be taken for such kind of procedures, which go in for open heart surgeries. This can be planned using the current technology. Another simulation is a robotic simulation. Robotic surgery also is picking up slowly across the globe. So wherein we have robot simulators, wherein you sit on the robot and try to make a simulation operating on a bovine heart or a pig's heart. That can be done. Second, the other technology where it can be used for minimal access surgeries. Minimal access wherein it's a keyhole surgery. Heart surgeries also has picked up quite recently. And wherein we have modules with the instruments are totally different, that we call a long shaft instruments. So with that long shaft instruments, it can be made attempts to do that keyhole surgery can be learned and implemented in their curriculum.
Oh, wow. I think the more I listen to you about, these aspects and the requirements which are there, Center of Excellence is not an option. I think it has to be accelerated. So what do you think is required? Where is the initiative of Center of Excellence today? As of today, where does it stand? And what is that you need that as support to come in, the little extra support which has to come from different sources? So let's hear that out.
Yeah, the Center of Excellence, what we had taken initiative for the last 3.5 years, work has been done, and finally land has been identified. The government of through government of Karnataka itself, and land identification and paper verification process is in place as of now. And subsequently, we do have a target of completing. Already the design also has been done about the Center of Excellence. The architectural design is in place. And definitely, we are looking in for CSR funds, philanthropists, or industries who can participate in this noble cause of the first free homographed bank, one of its kind in the world, which we are looking at, and also having a database. It is like investing is not in the association, it's investing in your own self for your own good, your family's good. That's what I put it forth as. Having much more skill-based cardiac surgery. 10 years down the line, if we are not, if we don't take a step up now to train the youngsters, 10 years down the line, we don't have good cardiac surgeons in India. That's a challenge. So that's where I would like to break the ties and see that we have good, compassionate doctors in India, especially because India also has become a medical hub industry where most of the outside countries, they do come down. In fact, in our own institute, they have come to know that there's very good hands-on training. And today, from Africa, where every child, the death rate is so high in Africa, especially following cardiac surgeries. Of course, the rate of children born with heart surgery is more. The breadwinner families who are there, they also suffer heart diseases, and the amount of training they have to operate is less. So I have put forth my little extra to train them also. So I have been getting 2 African teams shortly. A team of 6 members are coming down, spending 3 months with us, totally free of cost, and I would end up training them also according to the MCI rules. After regulations passed, we are going to do that.
Oh, wow. That is truly extraordinary. And please continue to be that little extra. The world needs, not just India, looks like the world needs.
Yes,
And
it's the
you
world
are
needs, yes.
field of really touching hearts. And I think more hands should touch that heart, and more hearts are required to touch those hearts and heal these hearts and make this world a better place to live. We need a heart. And looks like the initiative that you're talking about as Center of Excellence and a homograph bank. Wonderful.
But
Let
I
that
would put it
become
as a free homograph bank first time. Any child requires a graft in the world, I'm ready to. My aim is to see that the child gets within 24 hours of homograph.
Okay. So best wishes for that. And acquiring knowledge is ordinary. Applying knowledge multiple times in multiple ways is extraordinary. And you're creating this center of excellence in such a way that it is going to help accelerate and improve the acquisition of knowledge and also the application of that in multiple ways and multiple times. I think it's a great opportunity for those who have an heart, want to touch many hearts. Here is an initiative that could help you make that happen. So thank you very much, doctor, and best wishes. We wish you all the very best in this journey. Continue to touch the hearts. And you have a phenomenal heart, and God bless you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.